Hey, Pocket Watchers. Welcome to Real Accountant Reacts. I am Accountant Jason Thornton. I'm a financial advisor. I'm licensed both in tax and financial planning. And what I do, I react to different finance and business related videos online to help you think like an accountant. And today, I will be reacting. I will be reacting to a video of Brother Polight doing a PPP loan fraud training class. So let me start out. So I was sent this video. Someone emailed me this video and I reviewed it. And when I first started watching it, I really didn't know who Brother Polight was. So if you too were unaware who Brother Polight was, I quickly did like a 5-10 minutes at the most Google search. And the stuff that I found on him would make me run. There's nothing about this man that would make me think that he has any type of knowledge that I would want to have, any type of education, training that I would want to follow. I mean, 5 to 10 minute Google search, and I found out that he was in this cult where the cult leader is currently, like right now, as I speak, he is serving a life sentence for child molestation. And I even found videos of Brother Polight on YouTube where he is defending this man. I mean, I'm not talking about before everyone found out what he was doing. That makes sense. But I'm talking about after all the evidence came out, after the trial, after he was convicted, while he's currently serving basically a life sentence, this guy ain't coming out. His prison sentence, I think, is up in 2,150. I think 2,100, not 2050, but 2150, I think, is his release date. And the man is probably already like in his 70s. So it ain't happening. It's a life sentence. They might as well should have sentenced him to death, right? Because he's gonna be in there until 2150. So for me, I don't know about y'all pocket watchers, but for me, I mean, I'm a father. When you talk about, are you getting to a situation where you're playing around with kids? We're talking about child molestation. I'm done, player. There's nothing you can say after that. If you associate yourself with someone like that, someone in that position, I don't want any other type of connection to you. I don't care if you're the greatest cook in the world. I don't want you cooking for me. I don't care if you're the greatest driver in the world. I don't want you driving for me. I don't want any parts of you if you are associating yourself and defending a convicted child molester. And that's who Brother Polight is, right? So let's put that on the record. That's who he is. Now let's bring it back to Real Accountant Reacts. So this video is basically a PowerPoint presentation of how you can get your hands on this PPP money. So let's go pocket watching.
I'm here to talk to you about none other than the money. Jerry Maguire style. Show me the money. This is the day we've been waiting for. As I told you, there's gold in the crisis. You can't show me a crisis where there's no gold. Every crisis has its gold. And so today I'm going to talk to you about the coronavirus, right? But not just any type of approach. But we're going to talk about the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act. Okay? CARES. That's why I put who cares. But you know how I am. I always got to give you a nice catchy title. I want to know who cares to get their $10,000. Oh, should they go through with this? And it seems like it's a huge experience for them to go through with this. And we're going to talk about it. Should they go through with this? You guys need not be intimidated by the paperwork. You need not be intimidated by the paperwork. Because I'm going to tell you, we miss out on a lot of opportunities because we haven't acclimated ourselves to paperwork and process.
All right. So real quick, I want to touch on two things that he's already said. So point number one, get your $10,000. What is he talking about? Well, there were two major small business loan programs within the CARES Act. The one that everyone knows about that's all over the news is the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. This is a program where a small business, so a business that would be considered small, I think it's less than 500 employees, a small business would be able to get a forgivable loan of up to 2.5 months of its payroll. So you take a look at how much that company does in payroll for the whole year or for the quarter. You divide that down to get how much payroll it is per month, and then you multiply by 2.5, and that is the loan amount. And if you use those funds for payroll, I think it was like up to 60% had to be used for payroll. If you used it for payroll, then the government will forgive the loan. The company would not have to pay the government back. Now, where's this $10,000 coming from that he's talking about? The $10,000 is the other program. So there was the EIDL program, and there was two parts to the EIDL program. There was a grant, right? So a grant is not a loan. A grant is basically almost like a donation of money, right? You don't have to pay that back. There was a grant, and then there was a loan, and that loan was a 30-year fixed rate loan at 3.75% for for-profit businesses and 2.75% for nonprofit businesses. So what he's talking about was very early in the process, like super early in the process, everyone was talking about the $10,000 because within the EIDL loan, they would basically give you an advance. So let's say you would get $100,000 for the EIDL loan, but they would give you a quick $10,000 advance of whatever dollar amount that you would get. And that $10,000 advance was a grant. So let's say you would have a $100,000 overall loan from the EIDL program. The first $10,000 of that was a grant. At least this is how it was originally supposed to go. The first $10,000 of that $100,000 loan that you got was a grant. The rest of it, that $90,000 of it, would be a loan that you would pay back over a 30-year time frame. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. Get your $10,000, because most small businesses, based on the information that was going out super early in the program, most small businesses would qualify for the advanced $10,000. And technically, you did not also have to take the other part, which was a loan. You can just take the $10,000 and walk away, or you can take the $10,000 and get the other 90% of whatever loan you qualified for. So that's what he's talking about. Get your $10,000. That's what he's referring to. Not PPP. He's talking about the EIDL loan part of the CARES Act.
Once we start seeing information about or questions about our status, our income status, and everything, we get a bit very well. I want you to understand that a lot of the things you're looking to avoid is not even requisite to what you have to do. Meaning it's not part of the criteria. No one's going to ask you for your taxes. Yeah. You're a small business, and no one's going to ask you to even have employees. Check. Facts. Even the camera woman is like, all right. These are facts. And we're going to read it. We're going to get some reference points to make sure we're not bugging. And if this be the case, if they say we give them $10,000 out, minimum to small businesses, same come from me, you guys can go to the SBA.gov, Small Business Administration.gov. You go there, you can check it out, the applications and everything's there. I just taught a course today, and I included this data so people can acclimate themselves. I wanted my people to acclimate.
Once again, I mean, I know I'm probably beating a dead horse. I don't understand who is taking classes from Brother Polight, right? I mean, he's not qualified to teach anything that I'm aware of. He's not qualified, for one. Two, spend the 5 minutes just to Google who he is before you pay him money and sign up for a course, right? If you're the type of person where, you know, having an association with a known child molester is okay with you, then do whatever you want to do. But the vast majority of the population wants nothing to do with anyone who is connected with that type of stuff, right? This video might get demonetized for so many times I'm saying the CM phrase, right? It's ridiculous. There's no way I would even come close to associate myself with this guy. So I don't know why anybody would be taking courses from Polight. I don't get it. I mean, just put his name and scammer together and Google it. Put his name and cult together and Google it. And you'll go down the rabbit hole like I did, and you'll see exactly what's going on with this guy.
Themselves from the course that we did today. Beautiful course. If any of you guys was in the course, let me know how you feel. This was just class 1 today. But I wanted to make sure we talk about this because it's golden in price. So I couldn't miss an opportunity for us to include this in the conversation. But I did say on Facebook I would go into more elaborate detail about it because provided this goes through, and it looks like it's a huge experience for it to go through. See, traditionally when you're dealing with grants, it's a whole lot of paperwork. You got to get grant writers. You got to go through all sorts of stipulations. You start just, damn, is it worth the money? They don't just want my birth certificate and my social security. They want to know who my draw size is and who I cheated on last year. They want every damn thing just so you get grant.
All right, hold on. Okay, so there's a small kernel of truth in what he's saying. Very small. But yes, when you are applying for federal funds, there are a lot of paperwork, a lot of stipulations that you have to follow. But you have to understand this. There's a process called underwriting. And that process basically means they want to vet you to make sure that you are actually qualified to receive these funds. Because if it is a loan, if this is something that the government is expecting for you to pay back, they want to make sure that they're actually giving the money to someone who could pay it back, right? So yes, you have to jump through some hoops. You have to disclose certain financial information. And the average small business, they don't have the in-house staff, so they wouldn't have an accountant, just on their payroll that can just take care of this application for them, because most small businesses, they don't have the funds for that. Many small businesses are a 1-person shop or a 2 or 3-person shop, and they don't have certain working professionals inside the business. Maybe they might have someone who is a bookkeeper, but that is even rare. They almost never, for the most part, a majority of small businesses, they're not going to have a licensed accountant on staff. They're not going to have in-house counsel, which would basically be an attorney on staff. So they have to go out and hire professionals like myself, and that could be costly at times. And sometimes small businesses, they don't want to have to deal with the headache of gathering, because even though you may hire me to come in and do the work, it's not my business, right? I don't own the company. So while I'm able to help you prepare the documents, there's still going to be a process of you giving me information. I would have to give you a list, an itemized list of all the documents that I need or the information that I need from your business, because it's not mine. I don't know this information from your business, so that I could properly fill out those the paperwork. And small businesses don't even want to go through that for the most part. So when it comes to this loan program, it was supposed to remove that obstacle from small businesses. But at the same time, that obstacle was removed for small businesses, it was also removed for scammers.
Well, this is kind of like a grant, but it's also a loan. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but they're willing to forgive the loan. So this is basically taking on the attributes of a grant, taking on the attributes of loans, taking on so many different attributes. Basically, what we're talking about is something unorthodox, never really been seen before. Now, what I'm saying to you guys is, outside of claiming Day Day and Ray Ray as your children, knowing damn well they ain't your child, this might be the biggest and easiest come up you've ever had in your life with less complication. This might be the biggest and easiest come up you've ever had in your life with less obligation. This might be the biggest and easiest come up you've ever had in your life with less obligation. Actually talking about extending the forbearance of you not having to pay your mortgage.
I mean, he's basically already telling you. I mean, he's letting you know, hey, this is a hustle. This is a scam, right? The same way that some of y'all claim children on your tax return that aren't your child, but you're able to take advantage of certain tax credit, like the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, that helps you get that extra $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 on your tax refund. This is the same hustle. This is even better than that. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's admitting to the audience that, hey, this is the hustle. I'm teaching y'all a new hustle. I'm teaching you how to take advantage of the government's lax and underwriting protocol to get you some free money. I mean, that's what he's saying.
This might be the biggest and easiest come up you've ever had in your life with less obligation. This might be the biggest and easiest come up you've ever had in your life with less obligation. As they talk about extending the forbearance of you not having to pay your mortgage or your rent, not for 6 months, but now they're talking about 12. And as far as this $10,000 loan that can be forgiven for small businesses, they're talking about making it a recurring thing. But first, of course, we have to get the first thing. But it's going to be first come, first serve now. Keep this in mind.
Yes.
So you guys got to get on top of this.
See, that's the issue. That's another reason why the authorities are really going hard at these PPP loan scammers. It was first come, first serve. So what does that mean? If you were someone who was scamming and you got this money, you robbed some other legitimate small business from the opportunity of taking advantage of this program. So there are people out there who are saying, oh man, all you have to do is pay back the money. It's not a big deal. Or don't worry about it. If you didn't take millions of dollars, the government, they're not really going to pursue you as hard. No, they're going to pursue you. There are people within the government that are going to make a name for themselves coming after the PPP loan scammers, right? You took the opportunity for some other small business that needed this to survive just so that you can go floss and stunt on Instagram. I mean, that's what we're seeing online. So yeah, this training seminar, if I was someone who wasn't financially literate, obviously, and someone that didn't have certain ethical standards, if I'm sitting in the audience watching this, I'm thinking, man, I better take advantage of this opportunity before I miss out, because the government's making it real easy to get, at bare minimum, based on what he's telling them, bare minimum, it's $10,000. It could be millions of dollars. And as we've seen when it comes to the PPP loan, yes, it absolutely was millions and millions of dollars that scammers were able to take from the government, and at the same time robbing the opportunity from a legitimate business to be able to pay their employees, to be able to actually survive.
Get on top of this in real time.
And he's training them. He's training them how to do it.
Right now, talking negative about somebody. And ain't nobody turning around and say, hey, Negro, take a break off that. Let's all get $10,000. Shit, we might even want to allocate some of that money and pool it in the fund.
That's not what the loan's for.
For the sake of our survival.
That's not what the loan is for.
An endowment fund trust, because with an endowment fund trust, you can invest in yourself by investing in something else.
What?
Instead, we allocate the revenue streams.
He's talking about an endowment, but all right. So let me back that back real quick. I want to make sure I didn't miss. I didn't miss here. I want to make sure before I go on a rant, because this rant can go long. I want to make sure that I actually heard what he said.
Get on top of this in real time. And just imagine how many Negroes is on YouTube right now talking negative about somebody. And ain't nobody turning around and say, hey, Negro, take a break off that. Let's all get $10,000. Shit, we might even want to allocate some of that money.
Real quick, everyone can't get the money because everyone does not qualify, right? I mean, that should be real simple to understand. Everyone can't get the money because everyone doesn't qualify. But if everyone lies on the form, then it's something different.
And pool it in the fund.
This loan was not for, or the grant, either one, was not for you to take the money and start a new business. The loan was not for you to take this money and invest the money in some sort of security. The loan was for operating expenses for an existing business. It's within the application. It tells you what the money is supposed to be used for.
And call it our business for the sake of our survival.
That's starting something new. That's starting a new business, while the application said that the business was supposed to be operating prior to COVID, the shutdowns, all that stuff.
You might want to set up an endowment fund trust, because with an endowment fund trust, you can invest in yourself by investing in something else and saying we allocate the revenue streams from the same and put it into the fund.
All right, real quick, I'm gonna try to keep this short, but I mean, y'all can Google this. That's not what an endowment fund is, right? An endowment fund is a charitable fund. So what you do with an endowment fund, let's say I want to create an endowment fund for Howard University School of Business. What I would do is I would basically donate either cash or some other sort of asset, some sort of income generating portfolio, be it real estate, whatever. I can create an endowment fund, and I can put certain stipulations on that fund. I can tell Howard School of Business, hey, I'm going to, basically donate this endowment fund. And what you can do is you can spend the money however you need for the school based on the income of the investments within the portfolio that I gave you. Once again, within that fund, it can be real estate, it can be securities, it could be a bunch of different things. But this is for nonprofit entities. That's the point that I want to make sure I'm making. It's for nonprofit entities. It's an endowment fund. It's for nonprofit entities. And you can put stipulations on the fund of how the nonprofit entity, which would be the beneficiary of the fund, how they can actually use it. So you can say, hey, you can use up to 75% of the current assets of the fund, and you can use the income that generates from the fund, but you can't deplete it. I want the assets to continue to grow and appreciate. So that's what an endowment fund is. It's a investment portfolio that was donated to a non-for-profit, and that nonprofit can then either use the income from it, or they can actually withdraw principal from it. It just depends on the grantor. It depends on the person who actually donated it. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with individuals and whatever whatever he's talking about. I mean, once again, this is like a 5-minute Google search. You don't have to have gone to business school to know this stuff. You could have just went to Google and found this information out. But clearly, whoever's taking his courses, I mean, come on.
So you can spend your money on an endowment fund trust and then have the right to invest in, let's say, the stock market or some real estate. And then say the revenue streams that we get from that is going to make up a percentage.
Supposed to go to a nonprofit. That's not what an endowment fund is.
Being a small business can entail any of a number of things, and they left the translation so loose. So they got the Borrower Paycheck Protection Program application. So here's the application right here. You got to get in tune with this data. Let's go.
Get in tune.
This is Paycheck Protection Program. So this is going to give you an outline of it. Keep in mind, you can look this stuff up today. Keep these titles in mind. Review the video, share the video, tell your brothers and sisters, tell your family, tell your aunt, tell your mom. Everybody's always worried about, we ain't got no money, we laid off. We do a lot of complaining. Well, we don't make the necessary effort or strides to connect with the people that keep us in the know. I just want to make sure the conversation starts in our community that you should be approved for the $10,000. The loan process is not long. 3 days from the time they see it, the application.
I mean, this is PPP loan scam 101. This is a course on what you need to do to scam the government out of COVID relief small business loans. I mean, I can't. There's a couple of things I don't understand. One, why would you record this and make this public to people when you're clearly stating that this is a scam? I mean, this is you taking advantage of loopholes. This is, you compared it at the beginning of the presentation. He compared this to basically claiming dependence on your tax return so that you can scam the government out of earned income tax credit and child tax credit. Not only did he compare it to it, he said that this is even better than that scam. This is probably one of the best scams that you could do. No wonder there are so many people that did this. You had a guy like Polight actively abdicating for people to try to scam the government out of this money, thinking that the government's not going to double back and check. Now, I want to be clear. What he's talking about when he says that the government's not going to ask you about your tax refunds, your tax return. They're not going to ask you for certain documents. Yeah, they're not going to require that you present that information when you apply for the loan because they wanted to get the money out as fast as possible. But that's a totally different and totally separate thing from the government never double back and checking on the information that you provided. In the application, you basically gave the government the authority to check your tax records. You gave them that authority. So eventually, you should have figured when you filled out the form that if I'm giving them the authority to double back and check my tax records, doesn't that mean that maybe they're going to double back and check my tax records? They're going to double back and check and make sure that the information that I self-certified to get the approval, maybe they'll double back and check and see if that information was actually accurate. Like, I mean, you got to take some time to think, man, this sounds too good. This sounds too good to be true. And for many people who are currently either under investigation or have already been arrested, they are well aware that, yeah, this was too good to be true.
Process. We'll get them that bread as soon as possible. So our responsibility right now, our parents missed the wave. Don't miss the tsunami. Any individual who operates under a sole proprietorship, meaning you're in business by yourself, with or without employees. So you have a business, a sole proprietorship, with or without employees, or as an independent contractor. I want you to know, these are very loose translations for, yo fam, do you want this small business money or not?
No, man, that's not that's not what the translation means. The translation doesn't mean, hey, we're giving you an opportunity to scam the government with no repercussions. No. They were giving clear instructions to the majority of small businesses that are not very financially literate, who may have self-excluded themselves thinking that they did not qualify. This language is just clearly identifying who does qualify, because there's a lot of people who don't consider themselves to be small businesses. I have clients who are in the entertainment and the sports world, right? Athletes and entertainers. And these people are creatives. And as a creative, a lot of times they don't really consider themselves to be self-employed. There's consultants who have very minimal expenses. They have no supplies or stuff like that. And they really don't think of themselves as small businesses. But what this language within the bill is saying is that, yes, you are a small business. That way, everyone who actually does qualify, who had a legitimate business before COVID happened, this is what that language is saying. It's not saying, come get this money. Everybody come get this money. You could be an individual person. Just come get this money. We're trying to get this money out. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Come get this money. That's not what this language is saying.
Everybody gets this money.
No, they don't.
Even if you're denied the PPP. Be mature, be responsible. Don't hear all those P's and start, because I almost did it. That's why if I did it, somebody else was doing it. So listen.
Childish.
Even
Child.
Triple P. You're entitled to this money. All right? The requirements that an applicant needs to be in businesses for for a 1 year period before the disaster, except that no waiver may be made for a business that was not in operation on January 31st, 2020. The reason why we
right there, it says, hey, you had to be in operation a year before COVID happened. So that excludes a majority of the PPP loan scammers. That excludes the people who think they're smart and they say, man, don't worry about it. I got this money and I started a business with this money. I bought rental property with this money. The business was supposed to have been established and operating a year in advance of the program. He said it right there. Right there.
Going into this fine lining is because they're telling you, damn near anybody can get this money. See that word wave that I highlighted? This is the fine print. So
he's saying that there are certain things, within the bill, certain requirements that are going to be waived during the application process. But you just read the part that said that not being a functioning, operating business a year before COVID is something that cannot be waived. Like, I'm not sure if he understands what he's reading, but that's what the waiver part said. There's certain documentation that you do not have to provide while in the application process, but you cannot waive, you cannot be excluded, you can't exclude the requirement of having to be in operations a year before COVID. You just read it, but clearly he doesn't understand what he's reading.
You guys that's used to being denied money all the time can say to yourself, you know what? This is the fine print, so you guys that's used to being denied money all the time, can say, I'm sure it's just yet another time, because after all, the last 5 times I got denied for money, it was because of this, that, and third. They're waiving all of these denials.
No, they're not.
And this isn't really going to be publicized, this part of the information. I'm showing you guys this because it's on a first come, first served basis. And if you're sitting over there down on your own luck, you're going to be, man, you may never even know. Let's do the damn class. And let's get everybody this money. And I'll make sure everybody sign them damn applications and do what you got to do. Approve an application based solely on credit score, or applicant shall not require an applicant to submit a tax return or a tax return transcript for such approval. Do you hear that? The stuff that scares you guys.
All right, once again, what that language is saying is that you do not have to submit your tax return or a transcript of your tax return. And for people who don't know what that is, so when you prepare and you file a tax return, the IRS keeps a transcript. They keep a record of your information. And there are certain loans that you will apply for in life where simply giving them a tax return is not good enough, because there's a lot of people who have in the past and probably still are. They will prepare a tax return that is not the actual tax return that was filed. So let's say you're trying to buy a house. The house is a $600,000 house. You don't quite make the money for a $600,000 house, but you think you can make the payments just barely. So let's say the note is like $3,000 a month. You make $4,000 a month. And you say, well, I can make the payment. I only have $1,000 left, but I can make the payment. But your income is not at the level where a lender would actually give you money. So here's where the IRS transcript thing comes into play. What people would do was they would simply provide a tax return that was prepared that shows these extremely high numbers. And it looks like you qualify for this loan. You get the loan and you start making the payments on the house, even though you are extremely house poor at this point. You make $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and $4,000 or whatever example I had just gave. A majority of your income is going towards the housing, which leaves very little for anything else. And just as a little bit of a tip when it comes to housing costs, what we like to see as financial planners, we like to see our clients keep their housing costs. When I say housing costs, I'm not talking about utility bills and stuff like that. I'm talking about the principal, interest, and taxes, right? The principal payment of your mortgage, the insurance, right? The insurance for your house, and taxes. So that amount, right? The actual payment of your mortgage is comprised of that. The principal amount, the interest, the insurance, and the taxes. All of that is within the payment of your mortgage. What we like to see as financial planners is that amount is not more than 28% of your monthly income, right? So just think of it as this. You want to be able to make your housing payment in 1 week of work. If it takes you 2 or 3 weeks of work to pay for your mortgage, you're overextended. So keep it 28% or less. And a good way to think of it is, if you can't make your mortgage payment with 1 week of work, you really can't afford the house. So that's just a little bit of info there. So a way that lenders started to ensure that you weren't giving them fake tax paperwork is that they'll say, no, we don't want just your tax return. We want your transcript. We want the actual record of what the IRS has, and we want to make sure that that information actually matches what you're telling us you make on your tax return. So that's what a tax return transcript is. Anyone can order it. You can order your own tax return transcript. You just contact the IRS, but no one else can order your tax return transcript without you giving permission, right? As an accountant, I have power of attorney with the IRS, so I can pull information like that for my clients. And you can also give different lending institutions that authority to pull your information. So that's what a tax return transcript is.
Yo, what if my credit is shot? Yo, but I didn't file taxes. You know, but normally those are the people that's left out. Okay, and we're gonna skip down here. And when we skip down there, we're going to see, pursuant to 15 U.S.C. 636B, in parentheses 2, in response to COVID-19, may request that administrator provide in advance that is subject to paragraph 3 and the amount requested by such applicant to such applicant within 3 days.
He has no idea what he's reading.
From such an applicant.
He has no idea what he's reading.
We're going to send you that money as soon as possible.
He has no idea what he's reading.
It's not rocket science, man. We're going to get this together. Okay, you don't have to go nuts on the translation of you being a small business. Get your damn money, man. So all the rules is being thrown out the window, family. Doesn't matter if you had horrible credit. Doesn't matter if you've been denied before. It doesn't matter if you have employees or not. Doesn't matter if you filed your taxes prior. Understand, family, it's open. The door is open. Pandora's box is open. Pandora's box is open. Pandora's box is open.
All right, pocket watchers. So clearly, yeah. This is an example of why there were so many PPP loan scammers. It wasn't just that people woke up one day and they realized, oh, I can scam the system. There were people like this, apparently, from what I'm seeing, there's people who are actively going out and preaching the gospel of PPP loan fraud. That's why there's so many people. So I want to thank you for pocket watching with me. Continue to like all the videos. I need those likes to go up on all the videos. Continue to hit the subscribe button. We are over 10,000 pocket watches, and I cannot do this without you. Continue to send me videos that you would like to see me react to. Put them down there in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.